Yo, what is up? My name is Neelan and welcome back. This video is going to be picking up somewhat where I left off from my Square Enix rant video. If you haven't seen it, I'll leave a link for that in the description. Basically, the point of that video was to just get a lot of stuff off my chest. But a lot of the actual rant was aimed at the disastrous second half of Final Fantasy 15. To which a lot of people in the comments saying that this was due to Nomura leaving the project, which was named Final Fantasy 13 Versus at the time, and Hajime Tabata picking up and doing the best with the train wreck that was left behind by Nomura. The game had been in development for 6 years prior to Nomura leaving, and Tabata had about 3 years of actual development on the game. He had enough time to bring together the finished project that we all know as Final Fantasy 15. This is the story that everyone's been told, and one which everyone believes to be true about Final Fantasy 15. I'm here to tell you that the exact opposite of that is true though. Nomura basically refused to compromise his vision for the game, and he was asked to step down. Tabata trainwrecked the game himself to make the game more accessible to people, but welcome to Final Fantasy 15, the story we never got, Final Fantasy Versus. To start, a lot of people will be wondering where I get a lot of the information and evidence that I'm going to present in this video from. I can't tell you guys where it came from. The person who gave it to me wishes to remain completely anonymous, and they could suffer a lot of harsh repercussions if any of this was linked to them. With that being said, I'm not going to mention any names. This information will probably blow a lot of people's minds. It blew my mind when I first heard about it, and it's going to be really hard to believe. I'm not here to start any drama or to make people think like me, even though I definitely believe this information to be true. My goal is to just relay this information to everybody that is a fan of Final Fantasy. Like, they deserve to know what went down, and in hopes that we can rectify the situation at hand so that we can actually play the game that we were promised 10 years ago. To start things off, I want to talk about the events that actually surround the game, and some of the reasons why we got the product that we did. The game that Nomura was working on, Final Fantasy Versus, was estimated to be like 90% done when all of this went down. Apparently far too much of what was in the game was too dark or too deep for Square to put the game out how it currently was. They wanted it to be a lot more accessible to everybody. Nomura was asked to make changes to it, but he held strong, saying like these changes would compromise my vision, and there was no way that he was going to change something that he was so proud of. So Nomura was asked to step aside and leave the project altogether, which he did, even though he put so much hard work into it, and Tabata was given the reins for the game. The game's name was then changed to Final Fantasy 15, and we know the rest of the story. It's the game we got. Okay, now getting into the actual game that we were supposed to play from the very beginning. The game actually starts when Noctis is still in the womb of his mother, Cecilia Laurette Calum. She's the ruling queen and wife of King Regis. King Regis was involved in a ceremony which basically translated into the demonic claiming of Noctis, who is still in his mother's womb. Now King Regis, who in this version of the game, he wasn't just some generic good king, he was an actual pretty hardcore dude. But with this ceremony, he permanently bound Prince Noctis into servitude of Etro, the goddess of death in this universe. King Regis, he didn't really have too much choice in the matter though. Like, she gave him the choice to either give her Noctis and keep his power and kingdom, or deny her and lose absolutely everything. Noctis was basically a slave to death itself before he was even born. But in return for giving Etro Noctis, King Regis was given the Ring of Binding, which granted the line of Lucii power over life and death through the Crystal of the Void. So Noctis was basically from birth this world's Antichrist. And this lends an entire new meaning to the Dawn trailer of the game, if this story was present there. Like, it adds an entirely new dynamic to the relationship between Regis and Noctis. Like, Regis knows what he did to Noctis, but Noctis has no idea. Like, he just thinks that he's dad, and Regis has to live with that fact. He has to live with the fact that he gave away Noctis's life. He basically handed over Noctis's life to Etro, and there's nothing he can do now besides hold him and mourn his destiny. Now I know that sounds probably absolutely crazy and it's probably really hard to believe, but there are some actual facts to back this up. In a trailer that was scrapped, taken down, and banned by Square, which features Final Fantasy 15 teaming up with Audi, the car company. In the trailer, we see basically just an Audi car that was meant to resemble the in-game car, the Regalia. Along with the car, though, there's this huge armored figure that is not seen anywhere in the actual game. I full-heartedly believe this to be Noctis, and that's not too much of a stretch. I mean, Noctis is the main character after all. But this is where it gets crazy. Towards the end of the trailer, the narrator says this:
"The one and only Audi R8 for the inheritor of the light."
This by itself doesn't sound like anything and makes Noctis sound really good, honestly. But this dialogue brought back to something that I had learned a long time ago will absolutely blow your mind. The meaning of the word Lucifer, the devil, is the shining one or light bearer. So if Etro is Lucifer, the light bearer, and Noctis is the inheritor of the light, then that has to mean that Noctis is in fact the Antichrist. The complete hollow shell that we play as in the release game, it doesn't hold a candle to the Noctis that we should be playing. Another nod to this is the frequent depiction that we see of Noctis where he has red eyes, which is basically just another call to him being the Antichrist, and why in so many trailers we just see him mindlessly mowing through and murdering soldiers with no remorse at all. He is basically a killing machine. This plot point was absolutely essential to the game, and a lot of stuff that went on at the very end of the game that we're probably never gonna see. It was just ripped out of the game. The actual ending that we get is just something that was just thrown together after all this stuff was ripped out. I honestly can't imagine what we are missing out on here since Nomura wasn't able to create the game that he envisioned. Noctis was meant to be the bad guy. He was meant to be the antagonist from the very beginning. And this is crazy. Ardyn was meant to be the protagonist later on in the game. Like, you were gonna take control for the last bit of the game. You're supposed to take control of Ardyn in an attempt to stop Noctis from basically causing the apocalypse. Symbolically, Ardyn is the savior and Noctis is the Antichrist. The next sequence that I want to talk about is a particular scene that was it was just another thing that was just completely ripped out of the game. It features Noctis, Gladio, and Ignis, along with Varus, Noctis's bald driver, he's seen in a lot of early trailers. It's one where he's the guy that keeps telling Noctis to wake up in the back of the car. He really doesn't have that much to do with the game, but like a lot of other stuff, he was just scrapped. In this scene, though, the group is tasked with delivering a large quantity of a street drug, which is secretly manufactured by the Lucia family. Just another nod to Regis not being as nice and sweet as we all believed, called Lunatel Ristrium, which was marketed as Lunatel but had the street name Luna. The drug causes lucid dreaming effects where the individual is still awake, but they see things in the real world as if they're in a dream. This gives them ability to see like dead loved ones, ghosts, demons, and it makes like old locations return to how they looked in earlier memories. So it's basically just a crazy lucid form of LSD. The drug works by putting the user in a state of conscious REM, which stands for rapid eye movement, and it's the stage in our sleep cycle where we have our dreams. But since the people taking the drug are conscious, they see the dreams in real life. So even from a scientific standpoint, it makes sense why this drug works as it does. The drug was developed as a military-grade sleep substitute for the Insomnian army, and it was used in a weaponized form against an entire nation. That's probably an entire video by itself, and I'm not going to go deeper into that. But this drug is the real deal, and it was actually really crucial to the story. Another thing about this is Noctis in-game was addicted to Luna, and it was absolutely essential to how he was able to interact with the female protagonists that you've probably already guessed by now, Lunafreya. Lunafreya in this version of the game, she wasn't even real. And Noctis wasn't even convinced of this until he was held and interrogated by the Insomnia Police Department. They convinced him by showing footage of him attempting to cover no one as bullets are being fired at him. He thought he was covering Lunafreya and trying to protect her, but there was nobody there. So in the Versus version of the game, there was still a female protagonist that fulfills the role that Lunafreya does in the release title, but she was completely ripped out and Lunafreya was given her spot. There is a small bit of proof to back this point up as well. It's in the very popular trailer Omen of the game, which features Noctis basically just killing a lot of people and running around and following a white dog. But in the trailer, he frequently sees hallucinations of Luna, and at the very end it appears that he goes full on Antichrist, with the red eyes of course, and he basically just kills her with the huge trident. Which could symbolize him coming to terms with her not being real, but that's probably just me speculating. This without a doubt is the reason that Luna's part in the released game was so small and it was so marginalized. Tabata didn't really know what to do with her. He knew he wanted her in there and he took the other character out, but she had more screen time in this trailer than she did in the entire game of Final Fantasy 15. There is so much more to this story than these points I've brought up, and there's still loads of information that I'm not even allowed to disclose, which can make the story even more irrefutable, but it just saddens me to think that we will never get to play this amazing game that Nomura envisioned. And for what? Like, what do we get in return? Just some watered down adventure about camping. Like, come on, who wanted that? Like, hopefully something will be done in the future, and maybe some of these ideas can be reused in the future, because in my opinion they are simply genius. Like, that's so cool. I think Nomura should without a doubt be applauded for how brave he was with all this. Like, he'd rather step completely away and watch something he created and he loved basically be torn apart than to compromise and change the dream himself. If you enjoyed this video or have any questions, let me know in the comments. I would love to discuss some of this stuff with you guys. Or if you would like me to make more videos like this, please like the video. As always, if you enjoyed the video, feel free to subscribe and ring the subscriber bell to be notified when I upload a new video. Thank you so much for watching this, and I will see you guys later.